I am Mary Sketch with the Virginia Soil Health Coalition, and I am for the soil to protect the landscapes, waterways, and resources that provide the food that we all eat and the lands that we recreate on for current and future generations.
Welcome to this episode of For the Soil, a Conversation. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii. We'll get to our special guest in just a moment, but I wanted to take just a moment to remind everybody of the beautiful new Healthy Soil posters that are available at our website, forthesoil.org. That's the digit forthesoil.org. You can help us spread the word about healthy soils by buying these posters, distributing maybe to your local FFA at your local schools or garden clubs. There's a lot of places that they would be very useful. Just go to the website forthesoil.org, scroll down just a little ways on the front page there, and you'll see these beautiful new posters available from For the Soil and our partners. Now to this week's podcast. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of For the Soil, a Conversation. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii, and joining me are my co-host, Eric Benfelt with Virginia Cooperative Extension Community Viability, and Mary Sketch Bryant with the Virginia Soil Health Coalition. Guys, it is now wintertime, and a lot of people, they're not really thinking about soil health, but we should always be thinking of soil health. Of course, our website, forthesoil.org, has plenty of information and the 4 principles of soil health. And I'm interested for Eric to introduce our guest today, and we're going to talk about soil health on a flower farm.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. We're very pleased to have Jessica Hall with us today with Harmony Harvest and Floral Genius based in Weyers Cave in the central Shenandoah Valley. I had reached out to Jessica's mother, Chris, about their assistance with Virginia Farm to Table Harvest Celebration. It was just really interesting to learn more about their farm and their flower business. So we welcome Jessica. And Jessica, if you could take us back to the early 2010, 2011 and the start of Harmony Harvest Farm.
Oh, sure thing. Thank you so much for having me today. It is a pleasure to be here. To talk about one of my favorite subjects, the health of the soil, and how it relates to flowers, and to give you kind of a quick catch up to the history of Harmony Harvest and how we came to be here in the Shenandoah Valley. I am a Valley girl, grew up and have spent my whole life here in the Shenandoah Valley, blessed to have grown up on a small family farm, being raised in the blue and gold FFA jackets and in my 4-H club. So I had a lot of exposure to different trades and backgrounds in agriculture and found my footing in my high school horticulture department, which led me to pursuing studies at Virginia Tech in horticulture, where I really blossomed in those greenhouses and found my first experience in horticulture working at the Wetzel Seed Company in Harrisonburg, and got a lot of exposure to the world of lawn and garden, and decided that I wanted to try growing myself and start my own business with my family, and realized that in the wide world of horticulture, there was a small niche sector of flower farming, people who were growing flowers for cut stems. That was a small sector of horticulture, floriculture, that was experiencing a bit of a revival. It was a large segment of horticulture back in the 70s and 80s, and it was a very commercial part of horticulture that had virtually kind of been decimated in the U.S. and had begun being part of the imported commodity, not something we continued to domestically produce on a large scale, but we were starting to see a local resurgence of small farmers, small fragmented farmers getting back into it, and that the population looked much different. And it was something that really pulled at my heartstrings because I saw a new way of farmers getting back into farming. And it really aligned with everything that I had learned over my years of studying agriculture through 4-H and FFA and all my years at Virginia Tech, about what we could really do with the future of agriculture. And I saw that we could do this with flower farming. And so, as a young buck, a young girl with a lot of lofty dreams and a family that would support me, my husband and I got a small tract of land with my family here in Weyers Cave. And in 2013, LLC'd Harmony Harvest and began growing cut flowers. And at that point, we didn't know a lot of what we were doing. So it was a lot of trial and error. But we were pretty smart about it, got some mentors, got the right business connections, spent some time with Farm Credit, created our business plan and strategy, and spent some real time dialing into understanding our own industry, understanding what the true practices of growing were going to look like, and understanding how we wanted to form and build our own business in this subset of agriculture. And once we really identified who we wanted to be and how we wanted to contribute, it was easy for us to build a very unique business. And by that model, we were able to identify that just like there are food deserts across our country, there are also fresh flower deserts across our country, and pockets of areas that did not have access to American grown flowers. 80% of flowers sold in our country are all imported. So there's lots of areas that had no access to American grown flowers. So we worked really hard to figure out how to produce Virginia grown flowers, put them in a highly perishable item in a box, and be able to ship it. So we shipped our flowers next day across the country and got it out the door and created a shipping model.
So, Jessica, I want to step back to that when you said you got a tract of land. What did that look like? What do you look for when you're getting a flower, when you know you're wanting to grow flowers? What should a new farmer be thinking of when they're trying to choose a plot of land? I know that choice is not always, you don't always have choice, but just
Right. You don't always have choice. And we certainly didn't. We ended up with a property that was rented for 20 years before we landed here, and it was a cattle farm. And so we had to do a lot of amending to our soil. And that's the number one thing you want to start with, is working on your soil, because what you feed your soil is what you are feeding your plants. And that is the bone basic start foundation to how everything's going to grow and perform. So it's not about what you're feeding your plants, it's always about what you're feeding your soil. And so we were doing soil tests out the beginning. We were checking the different areas. We started growing where we were the most nutrient dense.
We're talking today with Jessica Hall. She is owner of Harmony Harvest Farm in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. And I want to make sure, Jessica, that people are aware of your web address. It's a unique web address. You get people in the mind of shopping before they even go to your website. The web address is hhfshop.com. That's for Harmony Harvest Farm, hhfshop.com. You can learn all about what the Jessica and her team there at Harmony Harvest Farm are doing. You mentioned working with the soil. Can you be a little bit more
Yes.
specific about when you first when you went out looking for the land and you found this site? Kind of walk us through what you did specifically for soil management.
Sure. So a lot of the things that we were doing when we first landed here was looking at the topography of where we landed, making sure that where we were planting, we weren't dealing with any erosion issues, that we were dealing with good land management, that we were minding topsoil management, that we were doing a good job of dealing with low till. We do deal with some till here on our farm, but we like to be really mindful of how we manage our soil. And so when we were first breaking ground, we were really mindful of how we were incorporating our soil and how we were exposing our land. We didn't want to break a lot of land real fast and end up with massive erosion problems. We also have a lot of hilly land here on the farm. And so we were really mindful about how we laid out our beds due to the topography. So that's something you really want to be mindful of.
Do you use irrigation, specifically drip irrigation?
Yes, we use a lot of different methods of irrigation just because of the topography again, and because we're dealing with plants at a lot of different stages of life. Drip irrigation is a really good tool, but I am a firm believer in having a full toolbox and knowing the right tool to use at the right time. And so, not just thinking that one tool is the right tool all the time. Know all the tools at your resource and pick the right one for the right application. So it's a really good idea to be really skilled at knowing all of your resources so that you can pick the right application for the right time.
And Jessica, I also want to step back, with the business and, we've been emphasizing the care of the land, care of the soil, and we have four principles on your website. Your mission and vision, as well as your four core values are really prominent, and a lot of them care for people. We think about care of the soil, growing or maximizing living roots. If you could tell us a little bit more about the development of the mission and the values that you esteem to.
Oh, yes. So that was probably one of the hardest projects we worked on as a team. And one of the things I am most proud of, our mission, vision, and values are our beacon to live by, and something we are really, really proud of. We really want to help people live a beautiful life through flowers and help them to discover how much better the world can be. And it is our mission to help folks find American grown flowers and have access to them. And we're really committed to being honest and having good integrity through doing that, helping to develop better people along the way, and living to our core values. One of them happens to be being very sustainable. And we hear that word a lot. We try to expand on that. Sustainability can definitely be environmental, but it can also be individual. We try to be sustainable people. We try to be a sustainable business. We want to be around for a long time. We want to make sure that we are doing practices that are sustainable. One of the things we do for the land that is sustainable is we actually work with our local landfill. And in the fall, when people are cleaning their leaves out of their lawns and yards, we go to the landfill and we take all your bagged up leaves and we bring them back to our farm. We actually let you dump your leaves at our farm too. And we use those leaves to feed our soil. That is liquid gold to us. It is nature's gold. And we use that to improve our soil, and to help us to remedy weed control, and to help with a lot of our soil improvements and projects on the farm. And so that's one of our sustainability efforts that we use right in our community, and it comes right from our mission, vision, and values.
In Jessica, I know we only have a few minutes left in this episode, but You mentioned mentors when you were getting started.
Mhm.
Could you elaborate some on who those were, but also just, what you would recommend to whether it's a flower farmer, whether it's a vegetable farmer, row crop who's trying to get started, what you'd recommend?
I think mentors are incredibly important, and I think we should all have a team of mentors in our life, regardless of whether those are professional mentors or whether those are personal mentors to help us get through. But we should all have a team of those. And when I started looking for mentors, first I was looking for professional ones. So I was looking for people, other flower farmers, people who had done it longer than me. I was looking for business mentors, people who were from the SBDCA, people who worked with the Economic Development Committee, people who were from farm credit or loaning communities that could help guide me and provide me with resources, people who were from my extension services that could help me and foster my education, people who were from the Natural Resource Department, just looking for different avenues of people that I could buddy up to and learn more from, be a little sponge and gather as much resources as you are, make as many friends as you can, because that network will continue to help guide you along your way. And the more friends you have in your corner, the bigger your success team will be to help you grow. That is literally the best thing I can offer as far as some good advice to get people off the ground. Make your team as big as you can, because you can't succeed alone.
Once again, we're talking with Jessica Hall. She is the owner of Harmony Harvest Farm in Augusta County, Virginia. And Jessica, we're going to ask you to stay tuned. We're going to record a second episode, if you will. I've got a lot of questions. I want to ask you about mums, and I want to talk about those leaves from the landfill. So if you'll stay tuned with us, we'll continue our conversation in the next episode, and that'll be coming up 2 weeks from now. Jessica Hall, owner of Harmony Harvest Farm. Mary and Eric, we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Jeff and Jessica.
For the Soil, a conversation is made possible with funding support from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and the Agua Fund. Other partners include the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia State University, Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, and partners of the Virginia Soil Health Coalition. Views expressed on this podcast are those of each individual guest. To download a copy of this or any other episode, visit the website forthesoil.org. If you have a specific question about soil health, call your local extension office, contact your local USDA Service Center, or call your Soil and Water Conservation District office. Music used during today's program was provided courtesy of the Flip Charts. All rights reserved. For the Soil, a conversation is produced by On the Farm Radio in collaboration with Virginia Tech. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii.